Okay, so what could possibly unite 40k fans, anime fans, pony fans, and video game fans all at once on a YouTube series? I have a series that all of you can be united behind, believe it or not. I know this sounds insane. I know half of you just clicked off and aren't even watching the rest of the video. But hear me out. I have run Only War, live on this channel, with characters whose players had to make more than one character. Poor Hetty lost 5 different characters before he started playing his medic character. Dark Heresy, which led down a very, very dark path in which the game ended because it turned out that one of the Inquisitorial Retinue was a Slaneshi cultist. The Ruby RPG, with borderline superheroes in training, trying to save Remnant from a civil war. And they started off so humbly, just getting to go to school. And the Ruby RPG and the Fallout Equestria, where you chase the adventures of a mayor from before the world ended in nuclear hellfire, and how she views the world differently from everyone else because she didn't have to experience the end of the world. All of this on one channel. And these are the rousingly successful RPGs, the ones that people still talk about 2 or 3 years later after they've ended. I still have people come on and reference one of the very first sessions of Only War in which the Ogre looked at an orc and went, "Surrender." And it worked. These RPGs have 20 to 50 concurrent watchers every week and average thousands of views on my channel every month. Oddly, more after the series are ended. People are still going back and watching them. I'll link them in the description if you really want to go back and watch these old RPGs. But all of them contain events that we still talk about today. So I have a burning question for you. What makes watching or participating in a tabletop game so much fun? If you want to talk about tabletop RPGs and why they appeal to me, that's what I really want to do. And part of this series, this primer, if you will, is the justification for the rest of the series, which starts tomorrow. But why would I continue to play something like Fallout Equestria every Wednesday night, and then turn around and start a regular Dungeons & Dragons game on Tuesday at 9 p.m.? Subtle advertising aside, what makes a tabletop game more appealing and exciting to me as a gamer and you as an audience than a video game? The biggest part is the characters. They're completely custom created, all of them. There is not a single character in any of these games that's not an OC, an original character. If you wanted to go look them up somewhere else, you would never find them. Wandering Sunrise is apparently searched so much on Google that she is now the first image to come up on a Google search when you type Wandering Sunrise. The actual sunrise is the 5th image. And that's when I use incognito mode. Don't even ask me what comes up otherwise. All the characters are made by the players, and the game master is creating the living, breathing world for which their sitcom takes place in. The stars are sitting around the table, and the support characters are behind the GM stream, and you are here to create a fascinating drama that has comedy, anger, sadness, happiness, joy, accomplishment, achievement, overcoming the odds, all of it played out before you. You as an audience tune in every week and you all have your favorite character at the table. You want certain characters to die, like Marker Light and Piston. You want other characters to live, like Chifundo and Quickstitch. And you recognize comic relief and supporting characters like Nyota and Scopolamina. And while all of the characters change and evolve, you follow them through their trials and tribulations, through their character arcs. Just like you would a normal TV show. It's scary how much, in comparison to a normal TV show script, Like Game of Thrones, not the final season. Or like a My Little Pony episode, these things will play out as. Just to give you two very different references. It's like watching an anime be created live before your eyes. But how do you get from just some pre-war pony to... I'm using Fallout Equestria as the example right now. Just some pre-war pony that I play to an armored living tank mentally fractured paladin of the wasteland. That's a big leap there. Random pre-war pony to... Holy crap, that's a lot of titles behind that. And there's 60 episodes now that lead up to that point. This is a journey and an experience for both the player, the game master, and the audience. The game master doesn't truly know where it's going. They just have a good idea. The player never knows where it's going. They just have an idea of where they want to get to at some point. And the audience is watching fascinated as the two create a compromise of improv acting that is not made for doing something like Whose Line Is It Anyway? Granted, Whose Line Is It Anyway comes up. But it's made for the purposes of creating a very real, down-to-earth drama in a completely fanciful and insanely high fantasy world. So, to understand that journey, you must understand a few things at the table when you begin. Number 1, every character can die the moment the game starts. No character is invulnerable. No character is immune to death. Some people joke that Sunrise has a free resurrection orb, and I laugh back at you. And then I'm reminded that if a 105mm tank shell slams directly into her chest and happens to hit that box inside, there's no getting up. My character just takes a lot more to kill, but I'm still very much just as vulnerable as every other character in the game. Until the session ends, your character is vulnerable to death. This is Iron Man mode. There are no respawns. Resurrection in most games is rare, if not outright impossible. Every mistake you have to live with. Every accomplishment you make has a consequence. That the world changes and evolves because your character did something. That's part of the fantasy of playing a tabletop game. It's not the mundane of going to work every day and you do this or that and the other. It's the world is going to end if you don't stop that orc army over there. And then there's the hilarious moments like where my dad has dyslexia, looks over and the orc war chief shouts, "We're here to rape babies and eat your women." And then the rest of the orc horde is now completely unsure about their war chief. And we are all dying laughing about this very serious moment. You are not your character is the next thing that you must remember. Number 2, as it were. Anything that happens to them is not a personal slight or a personal achievement by you. It is done by a character that is not you. Explore aspects you're afraid to. Men can be women. Women can be men. You can be a gay flaming drag queen. The real-life bodybuilder can be a super nerdy wizard with a strength of 6 out of 18 in a D&D game and have to play it out. You can explore aspects of life you were never allowed to look at. You can do things that are just not possible or feasible for you. And yes, while it is fantasy and it is imagination and it is escapism, it is immersion in a character's space that we as human beings in a lot of cases simply cannot occupy. For instance, on Tuesday, I'm playing a trans-dimensional space goat. That's just a weird thing to say out loud. But it's probably the closest thing I'm ever going to say to, oh, I'm playing one of the characters from Avatar. Because why not? Number 3, your GM is a person. They do a lot of work to make these worlds come to life and for you to sit down and play. Honestly, for all tabletop gamers, there should be a GM Appreciation Day and a giant GM thank you at the end of every session. You need to create a relationship between the two of you where you can talk openly and they can talk to you in front of everyone at the table without yelling or screaming. When a rule comes up that you're not sure of, the two of you need to be able to stop and work it out. As much passion and all of that you feel for your character or as your character right now, you need to step back and remember that your game master is not attacking you, the person. They are doing something to a character in a game because they are simply playing the world that character inhabits. Sometimes let the GM bend the rules, but remember where they were bent so that you can bend them in the same way when it comes up later. GMs, make a note. If you do something, the characters can do it. If the characters do something, you can do it. And the two of you should have a relationship where you're willing to stop and explain why your NPC, your dragon lich, that is currently rending the fighter apart, is able to rend apart the fighter. And the fighter should be willing and open-minded enough to accept that from Rule 1, his character could die the moment he sat down at the table. While at the same time, when it comes up later with a new fighter using the same tactics, and the Draco Lich gets absolutely ripped to shreds by them. By the way, for those who don't know, a Draco Lich is a undead dragon necromancer master. Literally, that's the best description I can give. He raises undead armies of zombies and skeletons and the like, and he is literally a undead skeleton himself. But you should be amicable to each other. And at the end of the day, if you leave that table and every person at that table you would not be willing to go out and have beer and some onion rings with at a restaurant, you should probably have a talk. The game is only as good as your investment. Point number 4. Your ability to be creative is what makes the game happen. Don't just expect the GM to lead the way. Have character motivations. Have reasons for why your character wants to go do stuff. Spell out your motivations to the GM. Spell out what you want to accomplish. Emphasize how you want to get there. Then run towards that. If a quest does not necessarily go towards your character's goal, but your character would do it anyway, figure out a reason why it helps you towards that end goal. Figure out what makes it happen. Tomorrow, in this series, I will actually be taking Dimension 20 from Dropout TV and doing a full breakdown. We'll start with Episode 1, Fantasy High. A concept that seems absurd. Traditional 5th edition D&D, where the setting is a modern-day high school, with goblins, gnomes, elves, dwarves, humans, dragonborn, all sorts of crazy things going to school together to become adventurers. Or, as Sir Arthur Edfort puts it, you're all here to learn to become murder hobos. I'm going to explain to you why what the GM does works. Why the table dynamic appears to be fluid and so well put together when it's complete improv. They actually have an entire episode devoted to breaking down and emphasizing that none of this is scripted. Nothing that happens at the table was planned to happen until the dice were rolled. Player characters didn't know what they were getting into, and the GM only knew what he wanted his big baddies and his villains and the world around him to try to accomplish, and for the players to try to stop. Then I'm going to explain when things backfire or seem to not work, why they don't, and how, as a game master or as a player, you could handle it better to make it work better. And then as the series progresses all the way to the end, I think it's 20 episodes. I think it's 20 full episodes. When I get to the last episode, you will see how all of these little improvements, as this gaming group has got tighter and tighter and tighter and closer together, have finally come together to make an amazing series end. And then I will explain to you how you should actually end your games, because they do a great job of it. This is just a primer to explain why you would want to sit down and watch a tabletop drama. Watch a role-playing game sitcom. on a live stream in front of with a bunch of, I'm going to say this out loud, and I want you guys to take full offense to it, my idiot crazy fans. What? You draw porn of my characters, okay? Seriously, do not go looking on Derpy Buru or DeviantArt for Wandering Sunrise or Akahima. You will have a bad time. But I'm going to show you why you want to sign up to participate if you've never played a tabletop game as well. And generally speaking, this is incredibly hard for me to have to admit, but I admitted it to my GM last night. And, I kind of just had a flat-out mental breakdown about it and said, you know what, fuck it. I've been planning this series for months. I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to admit that number 5 on the list of reasons why you would play tabletop games is not only are they super creative, they are outlets for your adventures to take place in somewhere besides just in your head. They are there for you to explore other aspects of yourself, and for many people, they are a form of therapy. Wandering Sunrise, Akahima, Commissar Fiaura Fairgates, and as of Tuesday, Zanti Kilveer are not me. None of them are. But what makes it fun is they have their own faults, their own problems, their own advantages, their own capabilities, and their own professions. Other characters I've played off of stream, like Miracle Feather, Unit 777, and Harmonic Sonar, again, aren't me. So when something happens in game that would normally cause my PTSD to flare up while I'm playing these characters, my PTSD doesn't manifest. I'm playing a character. The character's not me. The person yelling and screaming at me across the table isn't screaming at me, they're screaming at this character. And I have to play this character as they would react. Therefore, week to week, every time we play, it's a little easier to deal with your own psychological misgivings or your own social shortcomings. If you're an introvert or an incredibly shy person, play a character that can't be shy. Play a bard. Go on. A happy-go-lucky bard that's constantly singing, constantly talking, doesn't shut up. If you're way too extroverted and makes people uncomfortable, play a Zen monk, where you are required, in character, to display your actions and speak in short, concise sentences. If you have some psychological disorder, play a character that doesn't have that disorder. And then you can't act on that disorder anymore, because your character has to act differently than you. And if you were truly invested in your character, you'll even do out-of-character research. I know a person who didn't actually enjoy reading novels. Hated it. They played a character who was a bookworm. And to bring them out of their comfort shell and understand how to actually play their character, they went to the library and checked out a combination of Dean Koontz and the Sword of Truth series. Thick. Dean Koontz's novels are easily 150,000 words. The first book of the Sword of Truth is over 300,000 words. He read them as an in-character development project. And now he's an avid reader. You can do so much to develop yourself as a person when you're playing these. Now, I think I've said enough for all of you to understand how fans of Warhammer 40k, anime, My Little Pony, and video games could all unite to play a tabletop game. I'll see you this afternoon for Battletech Urban Warfare. First time I'll be playing the new expansion. Got myself set up on the first flashpoint. We're ready to go. Link in the description below. More importantly, I will see you Tuesday and Wednesday every week at 9 p.m. for the very tabletop games I've spoken of. If you want to see a traditional Dungeons & Dragons game, come in Tuesday. We're playing Dungeons & Dragons Redhurst, Academy of Wizards. Yes, D&D for Harry Potter. And on Wednesday night, we're still playing Fallout Equestria Dead Tree. And it's officially the longest running RPG I've ever done. Because as of today, We've been doing it for 18 months. And we still are excited every week to sit down at the table, even when we seem like we're in misery or deep thought or in a robot factory where everything's trying to kill us and Nyota shields Scopolamina for no reason because she's out of the blast zone. And then the adorable thing of Scopola booping him on the nose like he's a crazy idiot. If you aren't interested in either of these, I encourage you to watch the other series and understand and at least try a tabletop game, find out why it's fun. Or if you want a new Warhammer 40k tabletop series, step up. Become a game master. I will run it. I will stream it. I will provide you with your players and an audience. But you need to be willing to step up and do it. You might find that you like these a lot more than you realize. And I'm saying this from the perspective of, if you like Seinfeld, Frasier, and Naruto, or Dragon Ball Z, and then you turn around and you like playing Warhammer 40k Space Marine, you probably like a tabletop game. That's all for now, you bunch of nerds. See you tomorrow for episode 1.